We're just 2 months shy of Election Day, and the U.S. Postal Service watchdog is signaling some major problems ahead of an expected surge in mail-in ballots this November. The agency's inspector general released a report saying it found that more than 1 million primary ballots were mailed late. Some postal union officials are blaming the slowdown on the removal of mail sorting machines. I spoke with 2 workers who say that it doesn't make sense to remove these machines, especially during a pandemic.
Working during a pandemic, it should be all hands on deck. Every available piece of machine should have been used during that time. But the Postal Service remove equipment.
The last thing I would be doing and trying to do any changes during a pandemic is get rid of machines. In a couple of weeks, it's going to hit, very heavy.
Now, 11 Pennsylvania lawmakers are asking Postmaster General Louis DeJoy to return machines that were removed across the state. I want to bring in one of those lawmakers, Democratic Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania. And Senator, the Postal Service says it will not return the machines. They say the slowdown is starting to improve, but my reporting suggests that's not entirely the case. And our local NBC stations just had their reporters mail 155 letters as an informal test, and some still haven't received their letters back some 2 weeks later. So the question is, everyone can agree there's a problem, but right now you have states pointing the finger at the Postal Service. The Postal Service is pointing the finger at the states. So what's the solution here?
Well, Jeff, I think first and foremost, we have to keep the heat on the United States Postal Service, and especially Mr. DeJoy. I think it was plainly evident in the last couple of weeks that when the American people rise up, make it clear that they want their mail delivered on time, including their prescription medication as well as their election ballot, that the Postmaster General has to respond and has to be held accountable. So that's going to be the most important thing going forward, holding him accountable by way of hearings and pressure and making sure that he hears the voice of the American people. And that's going to be critical as we head into this voting season.
And the Postal Service Inspector General said in its report that more coordination is going to be needed between the Postal Service and state election officials. We know that DeJoy, the Postmaster General, is going to meet with secretaries of state later this month, but the election is some 60-plus days away. Is it too late?
I don't think it is, and I think that we've seen that change can come even on a range of issues. We've seen the change in the American people with regard to public opinion polling when it came to the protest by Black Lives Matter, and so many Americans responding to the need for change in the criminal justice system. I think the same is true in a shorter time frame, really, when it came to the Postal Service. People have a right to expect that the Postal Service will deliver their mail and their prescription medications, and they have a right to expect that Mr. DeJoy will not only be held accountable, but he reports to them. He doesn't report to President Trump. But we got to keep the heat on because time is short.
Switching gears here, your colleague, Senator John Barrasso, he told reporters that Senate Republicans are looking to introduce a scaled-down coronavirus relief package as soon as next week. But the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, said in a statement last night that progress still hasn't been made during her talks with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. I think most Americans, the millions, tens of millions of Americans who are out of work, when they hear about this back and forth between House Democrats, Senate Republicans, the White House, their eyes glaze over. I mean, what's it going to take to break this stalemate so that Congress, this administration, elected lawmakers can get the American people the assistance they so desperately need?
Jeff, what it will take is a recognition on the part of the president and his party in the Senate that we have a crisis in America today. It's called the jobs crisis, and we still have the crisis of the virus. Neither has recognized that. The president and his party in the Senate did nothing in May, nothing in June, nothing in July, nothing in August, while both problems got a lot worse. It's about time they recognize there's a problem. We don't need anything scaled down in a place like Pennsylvania. We've got 886,000 people out of work. I've never seen those numbers in my lifetime. And all across the country, we still have a raging pandemic. We need a big, bold piece of legislation, very similar to what the House did when they acted responsibly 13 or 14 weeks ago and passed the HEROES Act.
And lastly, I want to ask you about Vice President Joe Biden, whom you support. He's expected to report a record-breaking $300 million in donations last month. I mean, that's real money, but how should he put that money to good use, do you think?
Well, I'm sure his campaign will spend it well, but I think in so many ways that's a testament to what people have seen these last couple of months. Not simply the difference in the conventions, but what they've seen about who this person is, Joe Biden. They see a person with the experience and the empathy, and I think also the decency and the determination to lead at a time of crisis. On the other side, all you see is fear and demonize and divide, and people are, I think, voting or beginning to vote or thinking about voting in the next couple of days and weeks in a very affirmative way for Joe Biden.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.